Hello and welcome to the metacognition.org.uk student training video on graphic organisers. So, hi guys, in this video we are going to look at what graphic organisers are, why we use them and when you need to use them. So firstly, what are they? There are 10 different types of graphic organisers, so we are going to learn about them all, not in this video. Each different graphic organiser is going to have its own individual video. So graphic organisers, they kind of do what they say on the tin. So they're organisers, they help you organise your thoughts down on paper in an organised manner. So instead of trying to remember everything, you write all the information down, so you're not trying to do two things at once. You write it all down, and then you can go and do whatever you had to do. So in this lesson, like I say, we're going to look at what they are, why we use them, and when we use them. So, firstly, when we use graphic organisers. So, before you do any task or any problem solving or any question at school, you always have to plan it. Now, sometimes you might think, oh, I don't plan that anymore. And maybe that's because it's become so automatic. You just do it without even thinking, like brushing your teeth or eating your food. You don't have to think about it anymore. But when you're in school or you're doing something at work, things are a little bit harder and you do need to plan how you're going to do them. So if you're writing a story, you need to plan how you're going to write it, what characters you're going to include, everything like that. So that's why we use these graphic organisers, because they are special tools that help us to plan and write down everything we know first. And once we know everything we know, or once we've written it all down, it makes it a lot easier for us to do the task or to do the problem. So you can see here, my fancy little picture has popped up on this right-hand side. And this is called the metacognition cycle or wheel. Okay, so you can see here we've got the planning process. Now, without doing this planning process, you can't do the other stages because look, it's all one cycle. So we need to be really good at this planning stage so that we can go and do those other stages as well. Now, a question's just popped up, and this is something that I want you to think about. So, when have you stopped to plan for something? So I want you just to take 30 seconds, pause the video and think. Maybe write it down if you want to. When have you stopped to plan for something? Right then, hopefully you've got some examples. So I've got some as well. And this one. So like I mentioned a minute ago, maybe when you're writing a story, you plan out the different scenes, you plan out the different characters, you plan everything you want in that story, and then you just go and write it all. Maybe if you were answering a maths question, you might think, right, in this stage I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. You've planned out what you're going to do in each individual stage. Maybe you pack your school bag, you get all your books in there, you get your homework in there, your diary, your pencil case, your lunch bag, whatever it might be, you get it all packed and ready. That's your planning, so you're ready for school. Or maybe if you've been on a holiday before, you get your suitcase out, you get all your clothes in, you get any books or anything you want to take with you, so you're planned and you're all ready to go on holiday. If you don't do those things, you can't then go on to do the extra tasks. So if you don't take your school bag with you, school isn't going to go very well that day because you're not going to have your food and you're not going to have any of your books or homework. If you don't take your suitcase on holiday, that's just going to be a disaster. So you've got to do your planning stage so that you can do everything else afterwards. So why use them? It's really important that we know why we're using them, because you're going to be using them, so you might as well understand why. Now, again, another of my little questions. Why do you think it might be helpful to plan? So I want you to take about 30 seconds, again, pause the video and maybe write down some ideas. Why is it important to plan? Right then, hopefully you've got some ideas down. I do as well, so I'm going to go through why I think it's important, and you can see how many of these ideas you've got. So firstly, it's really important to write down everything you know so that it's easier to do the task. If you're trying to answer a question and remember everything you know, it's really hard to do both things at once. If you're trying to pack everything in your suitcase and not forget anything at the same time, it's really difficult. So if you write down everything you want in your story, if you write down everything you want to pack, then when you go and do it, it's just like ticking off a checklist. It makes it a lot quicker and a lot easier. You're not trying to multitask. You're not trying to do 2 or 3 or 4 things at once. You just do one thing at once. And that also helps you to stop forgetting important information. If you're trying to write a story and invent your characters at the same time, You might go back and think, oh, I didn't mention that about them. Uh-oh, I missed out this scene, or I missed out that sentence. That's what happens when you're trying to do too many things at once. So if you're trying to plan a story and write a story at the same time, you're going to miss something out somewhere. If you're trying to pack and remember things at the same time, you're going to get to wherever you go and you're going to have forgotten something like your toothbrush or a towel. It also makes it quicker to actually do the task. Now, that might seem weird because you have to stop to do some planning, but if it makes it easier to do it, and if you know you're not going to forget anything, that makes it quicker. So let's go back to the pack in the school bag. If you've written out a list of everything you need to put in there, maybe that takes 2 minutes, and then you go and put everything in there, and that takes 2 minutes. But if you try to pack it and make a list at the same time, you're going to forget something. So you're going to be running around your room thinking, oh, I need something else, I need something else. Or you're going to remember it later on, or you're just going to forget it altogether. So actually, it's a lot quicker to do something once you've planned it out because you know exactly what you have to do. It also helps you get better answers and higher grades. So because you're thinking more about it, and because you planned out everything you know you're supposed to put in there, and then because you put it in there, you're going to get higher marks. Simple as that. So if you plan something, if you think about it and decide everything that you need to put down there, and then you write it all down, write a really good story with lots of detail, or think really carefully about the stages of an exam question and then answer it, then you're going to be doing a lot better. In terms of graphic organizers, they're quite fun. They look pretty cool. You can make them look pretty nice, make them look quite pretty. So it's actually quite fun to do as well. And actually, it's really fun to start ticking things off once you've done it. You can also see how different topics link together. So this is from a school point of view. If you're doing a graphic organizer and you're planning something, you can see how different learning from different subjects or within the same subject all links together. So it's really nice to see how everything you've learned all links together, and it feels a lot more rewarding. And then lastly, because you're doing all of this planning now, it actually helps you remember it in the future as well. So it's not just in the here and now, it's not just straight away that you get better, it's actually in the future. So we've got something called our long-term memory, which again is things that we can remember over a long period of time. So we can all remember our names and when we were born and everything like that, but maybe we can't remember what we had for lunch 2 weeks ago because, well, it doesn't matter that much anymore. But our schoolwork does matter a lot. So using these graphic organizers will make things really quick and easy to remember. So there are some things we need to consider, basically like some rules when we're using these graphic organizers. So we always need to pick the right type of organizer. So like I say, in the different videos, I'm going to tell you what each of the organizers does, but basically they all do slightly different things. So some of them describe, some of them compare, some of them put things in order. So you need to make sure that you're picking the right one for whatever task you're trying to do. Now, there's another key point here. If you've never used a certain type of graphic organizer before, and you're trying to do it with stuff you've just been taught, it's probably not going to go well. So if you've just been taught some new information, use a graphic organizer you've used before. Or if you're really confident with the information you've been taught, then maybe try using a new graphic organizer. So 2 rules there. If you want to use a graphic organizer with new facts, pick one you're already confident using. If you want to use a new graphic organizer with facts you are confident with, go for it. Basically, you're trying to reduce how many new things you're trying to do at once. Either do new information or do a new graphic organizer. Don't do both at the same time. Right then, this is a little quick quiz now to see whether you were listening to what I just said in that last slide. So 2 questions and you've got to see if you're correct. I'm going to put them both up. I want you to pause the video. I want you to read them and I want you to think about what your answers would be. Right then, hopefully you've had some time to think about those questions. If you haven't, pause the video again because I'm going to go on to the answers. So for John, he can use a new one because he knows all of the facts. He knows all of the information, so he doesn't have to worry about that. So he can concentrate on a new graphic organizer. And Isha should be using a graphic organizer she is confident with. So because it's information she's just learned, there's no point trying to learn how to use a new graphic organizer at the same time. It's going to be a bit confusing, so she should stick with one she's confident with. Right then, a lot of you will be using knowledge organizers at your school. So if you don't know what they are, don't worry about it too much. You can kind of ignore this bit, turn off the video at this point. But knowledge organizers are used by a lot of schools, and it's those sheets of paper you've got with all of the facts on that you're supposed to remember. And a graphic organizer is really, really helpful when you're using knowledge organizers. So you're told that you need to know everything on your knowledge organizer, right? Your teachers tell you this is everything you need to know. Well, it's really hard to learn that information. So what you can do is you can use that information and fill out graphic organizers. And the more you do that, the more you remember all of those facts and all of those figures and all of those dates. So for example, this might be a knowledge organizer on Hitler and World War II and Germany before the war. And what you can do is you can take this information and you can put it into this type of graphic organizer. So this is called a multi-flow map. And like I say, there's going to be extra videos on each different type. So you can look at this multi-flow map and you can think, you can use your knowledge organizer to fill in that information. And that's going to help you remember. Right then, so in this session, we've covered what that graphic organizer is. We know why we're using them. We know the benefits of it. And we know the rules of using them. And then we've had a quick sneak peek at how we can use them with knowledge organizers. So now you need to learn about the different types. So these are all in different videos, 10 graphic organizers, 10 videos. So some of you will have had your teacher set some to watch. So maybe you've been told to watch the multi-flow or told to watch the circle map. Whichever ones you've been told to do, start off with them. But there are 10 in total, so you should go and watch each of them so that you're prepared for all of your lessons. Thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, do feel free to ask your teacher.